just want to make sure your cameras are still set, that you're, good for everybody.
Somebody messed with it yesterday. I don't even know if because that correctional facility meeting is canceled, so I didn't even get a chance to ask Whitney who's coming.
Mm-hmm.
She CC'd John Goldman, so I'm thinking that's
I'm sure they'll communicate.
So I don't know who's coming. And for this meeting, I feel sorely unprepared. Does Lynn ever come to a meeting?
No. Even though she says she is, I mean, that's what people do. And then you make up folders for everything for them, and then they don't come.
I don't know if he's gonna still be here or not. Dan Shapiro, is he still coming?
Did he respond to say he was coming?
No.
So yeah, just put out the ones that said that they were coming.
Oh, I forgot this. Oh, I think you already have.
Good morning.
Hi.
Good morning.
Doesn't matter. I put them over there, but it doesn't matter. It's wherever you.
That paperwork?
You know what, I'm gonna go find out if they are coming. No, Mark's not.
No, I found that I think these might stay better if we keep them folded. I know it's a pain in the neck, but they might stay folded better if we do. I don't know. They're not of great quality, the paper, I guess. I think Mary just said that they can order a heavier one if you find that you want to do that.
Okay.
We seem to be good. I mean, just as long as we can get
So far,
Buffalo in there,
Buffalo.
which is that's the problem place.
Yes, Buffalo. So
Good morning.
How are you?
Good. No matter how many times I come here, I get lost. In the parking lot, in the basement. I'm just wandering the halls downstairs.
Have you haven't been to this one, right? This board?
Not officially, but on the phone.
Okay. This is
For the
Michelle.
exam.
Oh,
A
this is
day.
Adea, yeah.
Hi, Adele.
Hi,
Nice to
yes,
meet you.
yes, finally.
Oh, wonderful.
Yeah, we used to negotiate the exam dates for the aesthetics.
Yes, yeah. So we know each other via
phone.
email and phone.
It's
Yeah,
nice
that's
to put
usually
a
how we all
face
are.
to it.
Yeah. Oh, goodness gracious. Oh, I like the name things. Super helpful.
Oh, Michelle is the chair.
Okay. Do you
Oh, do I need to go to the head of the table?
Doesn't really matter. I think somebody else from one of the other boards since it's this end. Doesn't really matter.
Doesn't matter.
It's up to you. It's up to you.
I'm good
Okay.
here.
Okay. Oh,
Steve
Dave.
Rivera from the appraisal board usually sits up.
Hmm.
Steve Rivera, he's the chair of the appraiser board. He usually sits up front.
Oh, okay.
Do you want me to move? Would that be?
No, you
I
can.
mean, I don't care where I
That's fine. These guys normally, even though their name is not on there, are they all gonna be like, do they all, even though their,
Name is not on. Did they respond to you?
I don't, see, you did that, none of them, I didn't get any responses for those. That was the one that I didn't really do a whole lot of setting up for that one. So I'm kind of like not sure.
They usually come. Cheryl usually comes.
Okay.
I don't know. She must not. If I didn't write her name down, she must not have answered me.
Okay, you know what, maybe, sure it's gonna be fall. It's gonna be fall.
We'll want to call Buffalo soon.
Okay, I
'Cause
just
they're not in.
I just talked
We're
to
getting
her
some
like 10
good
minutes.
snow out there.
Yeah, again.
Oh, well, yeah, my son's in Rochester. They were due for another more than 14 inches. When I talked to him last night. Yeah.
Really? How much did they get on the other one? I know it was snowing.
He said it was over a foot. And the worst part was he had just left and gone to Atlanta, and he landed in Atlanta, and it was snowing. He's like, I just left Rochester to get away from
I
that.
was just to say, yeah.
I'm like, well, honey.
I'm sorry, what did you say that Rhonda said, or you talked to them? What?
I'm gonna have it.
And she may not call, if no one shows up for
She
this.
still has to call in, because there might be public members there.
Okay.
Yeah, she still has to.
Back to Buffalo.
I'm sorry, Tom?
I'm gonna go see if I can get Buffalo.
Oh, okay, thank you. They might not have just dialed in.
What's that?
They might just not have dialed in.
Oh, it's possible.
Yes, just,
We're looking at a 10:30 meeting, all right?
Yeah.
Let me go get this.
Check my email for Cheryl and stuff.
oh, I'm like getting so freaked out.
Well, it looks really good. So I'm just going to go with that for now. It looks fabulous.
Thank you.
Hi, good morning.
Are you Mr. Fiore?
I am.
Okay. Just being nosy.
That's okay. Want to know who you're in the room with? You
Yes.
are?
I'm Miss Polly, Laureate.
Hi.
I just set up the room, so
Okay.
it feels warm to me. I don't know if everybody else feels warm. I'm always warm, so is it warm to you?
No.
No? Okay. Have the fans on in.
thought I heard you.
Hey, Denise.
Always early.
And I said to them, like, no matter when I come, I get lost. I picked the wrong parking garage. And I got lost in the basement going the wrong way.
Yeah.
I went to the elevator. I said, I need to get on 5. And she goes, well, just push 5. I looked at her, I go, there is no 5. She goes, oh, you're on the wrong side. You got to go back
Well,
downstairs.
no, you can take this up till 6. That's what I do, and then I take it down.
My God.
I know.
Ah.
Are you ready for Christmas?
Girls. I think so. Good morning.
How's it going?
Good. I did all of my shopping online so far.
I've been doing
I'm
the
just
same.
Not really in the holiday-ish.
Neither.
We did a really big, family trip for Thanksgiving. Because all the kids are, Christian's
That's
23,
nice, yeah.
Jacob's off to college, it's like, they're gonna be gone.
What's that?
We took them all and my mother to London for 3 days, and then took the Euro train to Paris for 3 days. It was,
That's great.
yes, and I'll never do it again,
memories.
so, yes, yeah. But that was
are.
like, what are we doing next? I'm like, nothing, no more family trips, that was it for me.
You're adults. You're adults. That's right. No, I know, it's hard when they're not, when they're grown up or get them all together. And,
Yeah.
yeah, no, that's
So-
nice.
So it was fun.
So where did you go? London?
We did London for
And
3
then
days,
Paris.
and then took the Euro train to Paris for 3 days.
Nice.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun. It
That was
really,
so cool.
but you know what, it was 6 days of just nonstop. Because you want to see everything that there is to see. I think we were all exhausted by the time we got landed back in Newark, but it was great.
That's so good.
It was
Good for
great.
you.
So Christmas is like, A, we're broke.
That's what happened, right?
B, you all have everything you could possibly
Right,
need or
right.
want.
Right.
No,
that's true.
Lucy Styles Road.
Okay.
So, I don't know.
Do you want me to call her?
Main farms.
No. Okay.
Yeah.
Where is he?
Plattsburgh.
Oh.
I don't hear. I'm not here.
You're not here?
No, but
Okay.
hi.
Hello, everyone.
I think, yeah, there was a change.
Yeah. And it's probably not on their
How are
calendar.
you?
Good, how are you?
Great.
Nice day, huh?
I love the snow. You know what? It's
I need
winter.
it.
You do?
Is John still? I do. I get so nervous driving in it, but you know what? Today was really not too bad. I was just worried more about being black ice than
Right.
anything.
So you know why we were all
Do that.
supposed to be on?
Well, what
I wanna
kills
be
me
here
is, you have
because she's been
64 students in a building.
Okay,
And
so
22 of them
I
call
can
and
sit
say,
there, so.
there's
well,
a,
the school district's
I'm not
close
sitting
where
up
I
there.
live, so I'm not. I'm like,
We can have Michelle sit there.
oh, that's all right.
Michelle sit there on your.
I'm like, well, if this were your job, you might not have one too much
I'm like,
longer.
you know what?
I can sit back
that
here.
I would always make sure they
Over
have
here.
extra
There's
folders,
people that live in Albany. That
I'm
don't
really
go.
Yeah.
just in case.
I'm like, you know what? For
Make
years
it,
I
for
did.
Albany, make at least 3. At least 3.
see, because they weren't here, that kind of messed me up.
Right, you were here.
I was here.
I'll be right here.
And then I got to like, you know what?
Okay.
Well, you're
I
north,
come out from I-80. I'm off I-80.
She may come.
Yeah.
You know, she can have my
It's
phone and
tricky
I'll
out
just share
there.
with
It can
you.
be, right, because it's,
Because all I
actually,
do is parent
okay.
has the agenda.
Amsterdam.
And you have extra
Paula
agendas?
doesn't show up,
They're already.
so.
Hi Rick, how are you?
Good, thank you.
I've done it in really tiny.
And the sign-in sheet?
I can't see
And it's
it.
funny, the older I get, the more apprehensive I am.
All right.
When it's raining at night,
I'll move
I
down.
can't see the lines on the road. I'm like,
Said she was coming there. I just checked my email because I was looking for Cheryl. Cheryl usually comes.
Yeah.
Cheryl's
And
gonna
she's not working, because you know what?
Okay, because I didn't see the email from her, but I saw from
You know, it's
Lisa
like,
and Ruth.
Okay.
Oh, all right, sorry.
you're right. You're right. We'll replace you.
Yeah, Tom.
What'd you find out?
I'll be back.
Am I supposed to have the meeting?
Hey, Donna.
They did.
That's a possibility, which we have a forum, but I should.
You looked on the bridge and they're on.
Yes.
I don't think one time though, so if she does show up by the bridge, then we would have
The biggest
fireworks.
shows at
She,
But
Yeah.
there's one to see.
Okay, let me hold on.
Jealous.
Bernita's doing this.
Yeah.
So I'm just going
Okay. So, how you doing? Jealous of one.
Good, Jim. Hanging in there.
This is.
Living the dream.
Yeah.
Right.
All right.
The dream, that's my favorite line.
Wear a tie.
What else can you say?
Exactly.
What do I hear going on?
It's them,
Oh.
or it's here. Yeah.
Can't wait for you to sit up in front of me like I'm gonna forget, like.
Okay, so I had a phone call from Dave a couple weeks ago.
Dave Mustard?
Yes. I totally and then it just went like, but why didn't it bounce back to us for so tight?
Good morning.
No magic yet, huh?
No magic.
Good. Oh, Buffalo, Buffalo, Buffalo. Maybe it's because of the storm.
Well, that's why I'm 60. I was going upstairs to put them on. Who knows if somebody got them.
Oh, from IT?
Yeah.
Oh. Now that, can you connect with the IT person?
I don't know who the IT person is supposed to be.
Okay. Call around and see if they dial in. I mean, I know you're saying that she did because she's on the bridge.
Yeah, it certainly does appear that.
Like, you know, it's nail, that, you know,
Yeah.
I haven't looked at myself. But you know what, as far as
Yeah, he says she's on the bridge, but this is what happened.
files, like drills or whatever it's produced that we had on that.
Just two people.
Water kind of goes through. But I know what, even with statistics, I don't regret a lot.
She does know that it's not 2,400.
Yes.
Okay.
I have.
Hi, Cheryl.
How are you?
Hi, we have a page for you.
Oh, you do?
Yes, we can make a page for you. Because I don't know.
I go.
Hello.
Hi, good morning. How are you? Good.
Do you mind sitting?
Oh, no, that's fine. How are you? Good.
I can sit.
I can sit in the back too.
I'll sit in the back with Jody.
Okay.
Okay.
I don't have a seat either.
Okay. Let's see.
Here, I'll sit in the back. Sorry.
We'll see that here.
We'll be at the kids' table.
It's gonna be bad when you come back.
Pepperoni?
It's getting really cold tomorrow. Yeah.
We're just gonna make the table bigger.
Yes.
Look at that. Problem solved.
Thank you for your help.
Gentlemen,
You don't know which.
No, I would not. I know.
You were in Florida, Cheryl.
I just got back yesterday, last night.
I
know.
2 more years and I don't have to do that anymore.
How was your vacation?
It was good.
You just got back?
Yep, last night,
Last
yeah.
night. Really?
Wow.
Exciting.
Yeah.
So you must be tired.
No, not really, because it was the rest of the vacation, just like,
I'm not gonna wood. It's
not excited about being in the snow, that's all.
It's really been great. Yeah, it was kind of like starting business all over again.
Yeah.
So, but we love it. We really love it. It's been good.
Conference and
And,
you're just on that speakerphone.
yeah, so there's a conference line.
Yeah, sorry. Oh, teleconference.
Because there's the web, when you're broadcasting, and then there's just teleconference, yeah, so.
Oh, I call that one video conference. Okay, so we need the number for this
Do you have the number?
Buffalo Run. We're gonna just say there's only
I
public
have
members there.
And I promised the same thing.
Oh, I have
Yeah,
her
she's got it.
number.
She said the same thing. Can you give, Amy's gonna call them, so that they can just, that's your, the room number?
How are you?
That
Good, like,
Rhonda
Can't complain.
I don't mind it.
716-847.
This is it, that's fine.
It's not even plugged in.
As long as we don't accumulate,
Right.
might help tuition now. What year is it?
Oh, it wasn't, that was each year.
So what's the deal with them?
Can I get you something?
What's that?
They don't think they can connect the Buffalo.
That's okay.
Now,
Per se.
Are they,
keep going in and out.
because they had
Now it's
snow.
on. Now it's on.
Do we have any Buffalo board members?
Yeah, there's something.
They're a hardy bunch out there.
Yeah, they are. That's why I said football game the other day.
Yeah, it's just I found it frustrating. I have no idea what's going on.
Yeah, I grew up in Buffalo, so we used to sit through many of those.
I bet. Yeah, the crowd seemed to enjoy it.
Oh,
Actually.
yeah, they did, yeah. So did the players, actually. You see them on the sideline
Yeah.
making snow angels.
Yeah, I didn't realize they actually come out with leaf blowers, with,
Yes.
air to
Yeah.
clear the snow away from
Just
the.
light enough, yeah.
Sure. Yeah.
The neighbors hand shovel.
I have one more.
My neighbor does that to clean his driveway sometimes. Turns out like a creek.
Was it Oh, yeah.
Like,
You can't
like
come
a leaf
out
blower.
You can't.
Does it work?
If it's light enough, I guess,
Right.
before it packs down.
Do this one?
Well, I know some of the stadiums, don't they? The outdoor stadiums that don't have roofs, they hire fans. I think they get
Yeah.
discounted tickets to come bring your shovels to the seats.
They pay them $11 an hour.
Oh, they pay them?
Yeah, yeah.
Oh, I thought it was like you got a
No.
discounted
They
ticket.
tried to have prisoners do it, but that was like, oh, that's
Got it? Yep.
Yes, okay.
You're not.
I was gonna hand it to you.
No. Don't see how it went down.
She did the worst.
Yeah. I mean, I don't, is there a difference for a computer as opposed to phone?
You know, before there was teleconferencing, what, everybody knew Buffalo? Like, to know.
Yeah, and every once in a while we travel. We travel for the real estate. But we travel for the
I forgot my phone.
There's another, jack up there, try this up there.
I had vacation last week, still at work.
Oh, yeah.
Because it makes my life so much easier if I did that. Went back to Rochester, and the kid works 3 jobs. Two full-time jobs. Yep. He went to RIT.
All right.
He got a .8 the first trimester. On the second trimester, he's like,
So let me try to overhead it so it's
And it's
you would go. I'm like, what's this?
That's fine.
I like it.
Take that.
Do you want
Yes.
to go up to
Well,
Bass
lights are on.
and get somebody from Bass who handles phones?
Yeah.
Okay, all right, that's good.
that's an assistant director.
That's what I'm gonna be, a phone person. I'll plug her in or when I retire.
Don't leave.
What's the issue?
So that they can't they can't do the WebEx to whatever it's called to talk about that's not working, so they're gonna call in. But there's only public members involved. So it's not like there's a board member.
Yeah, it takes a few minutes. It does. It takes a few minutes.
Yeah, I'm sure.
You guys
Where
have
the parents?
I have Rhonda's phone number too.
They turned it on at one station.
Has it changed over to regular?
No, it's still like, but the sidewalks are so slushy, like they didn't do very much with them. So I figured I wouldn't need my boots. It didn't look like it looked like it was just wet from my window.
How are you?
Good, how are you?
Good. How was your trip?
Good.
Was it?
Yeah, just got back last night.
Did you?
I will try it.
In our welcome here.
Yeah.
Yeah, right. I know. Well, from palm trees to snowstorms.
Yeah, it was.
Were you in Florida?
No,
Yeah.
It was nice and warm.
It was. The last couple days was chilly there. It's funny to watch the one before. It's like, oh, it's winter weather, it's Christmas weather. It's like, you have to give you a coat, 40s,
Because I don't really have a cup.
and then it got up to like 60s, so it was so nice.
So we were wondering, we were watching that football, the Miami game.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
And we saw everybody all dressed in like warm clothes.
Yeah.
It must be freezing.
Yeah.
For them, I'm sure it was.
Yes, yeah, it was, yeah.
I'm glad you had a shower.
Yeah, just relaxing. Now back to reality.
I saw you.
I'm glad, right? Is Ruth coming?
She's right there. I know.
Yeah, I don't know, you're at the table. Yeah, no, you're at the table. Yeah, that's good, that's good. A lot of,
So we're trying to reach her.
we had a trip planned.
At her desk.
I dialed in and saw the email.
Oh, okay.
It's not always warm. It is.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
I can see that I can see that there's transfer back and forth.
Right. Just
No, and I was saying that there's gonna be, flights from Albany to Buffalo.
Yeah, I heard that, yeah.
So that'll be nice for you.
Yeah, yeah. Quick one, yeah, so the train, which is hours and hours
Right,
of
right.
driving, stressful.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you're closing like
Monday,
Monday?
yeah. Finally, yeah. The original closing date was Friday. The seller.
So I got one of them into
So then she had the extra weekend to push stuff out. Yeah, because we could have used the well, we don't have anything, we just did everything and rent it. But, you know, just to check everything out.
I probably have several calls.
You know, for the first time, embarrassing. I only bring
Yeah, in my
We need to get a hold of Ron.
A day.
Yeah. Yeah, are you unpacked? You just
Yeah, no, pretty much right now.
Oh, that's good.
Take that back and
Yeah, that's very. Yeah, right, yes, there's something. Yeah.
I'll be calling you again. Oh, good.
You want to smoke?
Yeah, so depending on that, we'll pick up from
No, I mean, a day,
Saturday morning and
So they have,
So my oldest, who's she'll stick around.
They, at the same time,
all right, here, you can talk to that, okay?
and so,
Oh, I don't want to think about it.
so there's things that are now treated.
No, I want you to go in.
We went to South Carolina.
Yeah.
So they were successful.
Who do they have to, like, that are?
Dave, wave your hand. Denise wants to see.
No, I said I wish I could see Dave.
Oh, hi.
I can't see him. So if I need to go, Dave, help me out here.
We'll play telephone. Wait, no, but what I was saying
Is someone in this conference? We're all in the conference.
because my understanding is are you have to be married.
Dying our court.
No, they want to just
Different
people,
you guys, the Department of Education.
What?
Okay.
I don't know.
I didn't do it. No, I know the original.
Not the original, not the
Wait, the nail polish. Oh, yeah.
We all know.
So you would,
I was the
Probably should fix that.
The important is that conference.
I assume that they
I didn't bring my notes from the last time I was in such a rush.
Okay.
are you teaching
That's
them?
what I'm saying, maybe. In our world, we distinctions.
No?
Right, because you know, it's,
They're waiting for.
right, but I think they put them on the board because it makes sense.
Great things about the owner
Yes.
and those new
Okay.
Put my name
No, it's just gonna be.
No visitors?
Yes.
Years ago.
Yeah.
Right. Also updated, they also updated 250 hours.
Right, yes. Yeah, that I
And so that never got adopted.
There's no question.
And did you guys have to start teaching?
Yeah, I think so. It's, yeah, because it was a couple years ago.
That's the New City. Still the original.
We really started
Right.
banging.
So is that one the curriculum?
Okay.
So like compare
They
the
were
number of
really
licenses.
anxious, I think that when, I think that when it was out.
I think that was
Oh.
anything that's not
Compared to now.
That never got done. So that's what I had for you. I don't know. No, I just got out.
It's gotta be, right?
And, I mean, I wasn't involved in it, I heard about it, I was involved in something, so yeah.
So when I tell my kids,
Can you see Buffalo? Okay, come on. Yeah, we got Buffalo now. We got them. Thank you. Okay, thank you.
I'm sorry, I can't hear you. Can you see Buffalo now?
Yes.
Awesome.
You can hear us, Rhonda?
I can, yes. I can see you too now.
I just have to.
And you all look beautiful. Oh. Let's get rid of this.
Thank you. Let's do nails. Third. Two.
I can go as far as you want me to.
Business is 1624. Business is 1722.
Okay. Yeah.
On back to the
Give overview of, you know, change from this product to that product.
That's what I'm saying.
So that's.
I add that, yeah.
But you mean posted in the law book?
Yeah, that's the first one.
That doesn't help prove our point, does it?
No,
Well, but it's all over the place, right? Look at, like,
Not like a.
some went up, some went down. So look at wax. Wax is one
good
of
to
like
go?
300.
Am I supposed to start?
There's only 8 natural hairs.
Well, what happened with me?
What happened to you?
Yeah.
Yes?
We're about to begin.
Okay.
Is everyone there in the room?
We have only Anthony.
Only Anthony, okay.
Yes.
Excellent.
Either way it needs to.
Thank you,
gotta be.
Lori.
That counts.
Okay.
Yeah. Right.
Oh, that's temps.
See you later.
Okay. Thank you for the water.
Well, we'll go ahead and get started. Good morning, everybody. I believe we do not have a quorum, correct?
Going to roll call first. So I don't know who's in Buffalo.
Okay. Well, we'll go ahead and start, I'm pretty sure. And we'll do roll call. We'll start here in Albany and then move to New York and then to Buffalo. Good morning, Michelle Diallard, Chairperson of the Advisory Committee.
Denise Tidings, Department of State.
Arnita Gant, Department of State.
John Goldman, Department of State.
Dave Mossberg, Department of State.
Amy Bensington, Department of State.
Jody Delhallo, Department of State. Sherwin Stills, SED.
Sharon Charlin, Department of State.
Adea Murdoch, Department of State.
Marcella Rose, Department of State.
Ruth Singer, State Education Department, BPSS.
Mary Jo Moore, Department of State.
Lisa Stiles Roy, SED, BPSS.
Rick Caputo, member.
Anthony, your turn.
Anthony Fiore, member.
Did it work?
You're good now. We can hear.
Okay, thank you. Nancy Bozier from the Salon Professional Academy in Buffalo, New York. I'm the lead educator.
Nadine Doucette, educator at Salon Professional Academy.
Oh, got it. All right, well, good morning, everybody. So obviously, we don't have a quorum. We need 5, correct? Okay. So we can't approve meeting minutes from the last couple of meetings that there were. So I guess we then move right on to our agenda. And we'll begin with Ernita Gant for any enforcement updates.
Okay, we are at a nearing the end of our 2017 Parents Enhancement program. It's proven to be a pretty successful program this year. We conducted 3,727 inspections throughout the state. We have about 4 counties left to do, and they will be done by the end of December. We have, again, shown an increase in the number of salons that have become licensed. We're out there, we are providing information, we are providing education, and the program has been pretty successful.
Thank you, Anita. Next on the agenda, the Trends Subcommittee. Denise Tidings will address that.
Good morning. The last time the Parents Enhancement Trends Subcommittee met was on August 24th, and we discussed the operation of eyelash boutiques, a consideration of a natural hair license, and determinations of procedural areas. We went back over that. As far as eyelash boutiques, we discussed the concern over unlicensed activity, and we decided the procedures should really only be performed by licensed cosmetologists and estheticians, and that the shops must possess an appearance enhancement business license in order to operate in that capacity. But then we came down to, we deemed that it was an enforcement issue. And if it seems to be a widespread issue, that maybe inspections could target these type of establishments and maybe issue cease and desist orders. Hairstyling license, at the last meeting, I think someone brought up the idea that instead of a full cosmetology license, that it might be a good idea to consider a type of license that just addresses the hair. That a lot of the students, you know, they may not be interested in the nails or the aesthetics, things that fall under the umbrella license. And we researched some other states, found that very few offer a separate license. What I did find interesting was some of them had like programs rolled in together, you know, like a cosmetologist esthetician. So it was like 2 out of the 4. I thought that was interesting. They discussed that there's a movement for reform in licensure where some of the states are considering, you know, dropping umbrella licenses you know, to give the students more target what they want to be licensed in. Some members favored that. Other members felt that the umbrella license was a good idea to keep, that it benefited the students, it gave them exposure to some other areas. But then, you know, we deemed that without a change in statute, we really cannot proceed in that area beyond discussion. So we then talked a little bit about the natural hairstyling license, and it's still a fairly inactive area, and it's currently under review by the Department of State. If there's other ways that we can, you know, remove some barriers to licensure in that area. And the last area, Michelle may have helped me out a little with this, and Dave, but we're still working on the different procedural areas that are questionable procedures performed by licensed estheticians, cosmetologists, all of our appearance enhancement licensees. Some of the areas that we discussed, ultrasound, that was one that we, the medical board did deem that was a medical procedure. Heels, we really didn't get much of an opinion or a determination on that area. So I believe that we're going to proceed at this point by assuming that whatever our licensees use, that, you know, it's not medical strength and that it's appropriate as long as they're using it as intended and they're practicing safety and infection control measures. Reflexology was another area. The massage therapy board did tell us that they believe that's the practice of massage therapy. It involves deep tissue massage. Hot stone massage. The massage therapy board also mentioned that that is something under the massage therapy license. However, it may be acceptable if an appearance enhancement licensee were to use that procedure to relax the face before applying skin products. It was suggested that maybe an appearance enhancement provider should call it something different, maybe a hot stone facial relaxation or something to that degree to avoid confusion. We got into eyelash and eyebrow dyeing, which is prohibited in our section 160.27 of the rules and regulations. And members on the committee had suggested that we revisit this section and have it apply to eyelashes only. Currently, like I said, both are prohibited, but they feel that there's a market for the eyebrow dyeing and that they have products that they can safely do so with. Lancet use, it's acceptable, they deemed, under section 160.17, which refers. Yes. It's lancets. They're like those. You know when someone goes to check a sugar and they diabetes.
How do you spell it?
LANCET, and it does kind of, you know, it can like dip the surface a little bit or whatnot, but they feel that that may fall under our regulation that addresses single-use disposables for implements intended to penetrate the skin.
What's it for again?
Why would you use
You
it?
might want to
For
explain
cause.
that. It's for
It's
estheticians.
aesthetics, it's for facial treatments, it's to clear out, clean out the pores, to do extractions. So in order to do extractions and clean out whiteheads, blackheads, those types of things beforehand, instead of applying the pressure, especially when the skin is intact, if you give it just a little poke on the top, it gives it an area for all the debris to be released from the skin. Yep. They're super tiny, real thin. They're all disposable now. It's just a matter of proper disposal techniques, which is up to the school owner what to do, or the esthetician or the business to do.
Thank you.
And then there's microneedling. They asked us to revisit that because it was previously determined that that should fall under acupuncture. And then it actually may even be the practice of medicine due to its invasive nature. Dave, did they deem that was acupuncture again?
I believe that the
Yeah.
board came back and confirmed it.
Yeah, same determination. So dermaplaning may be okay. We thought it might be like microdermabrasion, although it's a little bit of a stretch. Dermaplaning, I don't know if everyone knows what that is. John might explain that. One question I did have about it, is it done with a straight razor or a surgical blade?
It's a very small surgical blade. Yep. It is. It's a small surgical blade.
Doesn't feel like a cat licking.
That's microdermabrasion.
Okay.
Yeah. No, it's a small surgical blade. I believe it's a number 10, and we take areas of the skin, hold them taut, and just literally rub back and forth. And it's superficial exfoliation, removes just cells from the upper stratum corneum, dead skin cells, fine vellus hair, which is also huge for people that are concerned about that don't want women shaving their face. It's the exact same idea. It's the exact same idea as that. It's been really popular prior to peeling and different types of chemical treatments for years, but has gotten huge in the aesthetics business in the last 3 to 5 years. Estheticians are doing it for simple exfoliation before and during facial treatments, before peels. Makeup artists are doing it before makeup applications because it leaves the skin so soft and smooth. Product penetration is better. There's a lot of question out there, and even from a school owner's perspective, we get the phone calls, can I do it? Can I not do it? It doesn't say any place, but they're doing it.
It's like the eyebrow dyeing. It's happening.
Yeah.
No,
It's
and Ruth-
microblading.
Yeah, and we even talk about, not to back up with the eyebrows, and eyelashes are the eyelash dyeing is done just as frequently. It's being done everywhere, and I think that's the biggest struggle that we have. Denise, sorry not to jump in on you.
Go ahead.
But the biggest struggle we have with all of these things is that every time we turn around, something new is coming up. And we're trying to figure out who can do it, who can't do it, although for the most part, licensed estheticians are more qualified to be doing it simply because of the experience and the knowledge that they have about the skin, about how they can work on the skin, and pairing it with what they're doing. The challenge is that we don't have any regulation on it. So it's hard to tell them, oh yes, this falls in your scope of practice, or this doesn't, and then every time we turn around, something different comes out. Microneedling, if we have a 0.25 needle, it's so superficial that, it's like pricking the surface of the skin. That's not a big deal. We're still within our scope of practice as the epidermis. But you get a 0.5 to a 1, and now you're hitting the dermal layer of the skin. So then it becomes a gray area of where things are. But our biggest challenge from all of us sitting together is, how do we wrap our arms around all of this and provide our professionals with the support that they need to move forward and feel confident that they're protected and they're backed by us, and to give them a guideline that if you're going to do this, this is what you need to know first, or this is what you need to do first. So it's definitely been a challenge.
Yeah, they're concerned about, being in compliance when they're
Absolutely.
practicing, which is a good thing.
Yeah.
And then there's oxygen treatments. We said they may be okay, unless we decide in some way that they're dangerous. The medical board actually, you know, they made a comment to us that they almost perceived similar to us in that they look at some of these things and say, you know, where's the risk? And, you know, there's a bunch of things that they look at to kind of make it have an opinion as to whether or not they really, I don't think want to always provide a determination,
Right.
or do they feel that that's always maybe their area to provide one. But as far as opinions, and then there's diathermy, and it may be okay at low current levels is what we've decided.
Can I back up? What do people use oxygen treatments for?
You might want to tackle that
Yeah.
one.
Well, it actually, Ruth, falls into 3 different categories. You can have an oxygen facial that somebody has created as a facial treatment that's product-based. So it has a peroxide base that's mixed with an activator that releases oxygen onto the skin. It's pretty superficial. Excellent for acne, excellent for rosacea. Then there's also...
You're not talking about an oxygen mask? Or you
No,
are?
well, and then there's also oxygen bars, where you literally go in and we all sit at a table together and,
Is that legal in the United States?
it is. I don't know so much about New York, but I know that there are many states that have them. And you literally are hooked up, you know, whether it's through the nose or the mask or whatever, and you breathe in oxygen for a time period. And it's, you know, to re-oxygenate the body, and now you're energized and whatever. So that's not necessarily our scope of practice, has nothing to do with the skin. But then there's another company that's been out there for almost 20 years now. Echo 2 started this. And they actually do an oxygen treatment. And originally, you had a nebulizer, and you put product in the nebulizer, and the tube from the nebulizer was hooked to an oxygen tank. So you used oxygen to deliver product into the skin. It was a means of delivery because it was unbelievable product penetration. And then there became issues with several medical companies saying, well, wait a minute, you're not a medical facility. I can't drop off oxygen tanks at your spa for use. It doesn't cover. So what Echo 2 did at that time is they created a generator or a regenerator that used air and recirculated it and purified it. So you don't have the explosive issue of an oxygen tank on the premises or anything like that. And now you still can deliver the capacity of the ingredients into the skin via an oxygen treatment. So therein lies another challenge of ours when we're doing things like this, is when you say oxygen treatment, well, which one are you talking about?
Right.
Which one, what is it referring to?
Right. And that's why at one point, you know, it was suggested that, you know, until determinations are made, there are areas that are not prohibited, some of them by law, that maybe we need to just define, further define what is state practice, what is considered prohibited or okay about the way that they might use the product or perform the procedure. This subcommittee, this has been an ongoing process trying to find, you know, make determinations on these questionable areas. We're going to continue with that. And, you know, we may want to even add different things to our list as we go along. And hopefully at some point, you know, we'll be happy with what we have and be able to actually make that more available. I also would like to add to the list maybe cuticle cutting and straight razor use. These 2 areas seem to always come up a lot. People think they're prohibited. They're not. Cuticle cutting, I've read different things on it where some people don't agree that it should be done. I want to say dermatologists even in some of the articles. But by law, they can cut the cuticle. Straight razor use, it's been under the assumption, and I'm speaking in terms of like shaving, it's been the assumption of many people that cosmetologists were not able to perform that procedure, but they are, at least by law, unless we feel that they shouldn't be, and we find ways to prohibit that.
Is it part of the training, well, like barbering? Is it?
I believe it is. I remember over the years people, different cosmetology instructors telling me how they teach their class and, blowing up a balloon and putting a shaving cream on there and things like that. But they may not have been using the straight razor, but they're not prohibited from using it.
I think only to the extent of maybe cleaning up neckline after a haircut. If you further than that, there's going to be insurance implications, I would think.
That's why I'd like to revisit a couple of those areas, because like I said, they aren't prohibited. I don't know if they should be, or we should maybe further define those areas. But I'd like to add them to the list. If anyone comes up with other things that we haven't covered, that they feel that we should discuss, please bring it to my attention.
Hey, Denise, can I ask a question? Sure. So when you go through this process and you bring up issues and decisions are made and legal opinions are rendered and whatever, what steps are taken to get it out there?
We haven't taken any as of yet. We've been compiling almost like a list that would be helpful for something like a call center when they receive these calls, these inquiries, that they could maybe look across and say, I want to do this. Is this covered under my license? And they could kind of look across and see whether or not it falls within the scope of practice.
Well, I would suggest so the enforcement people that Ernita and I regulate, we're kind of on the front lines and dealing with the industry out in the field. Also, when phone calls come in and the call center people are unsure of things, they tend to refer it to us. And so we're kind of on the front line of answering these questions on a regular basis, and it takes up collectively probably a lot of time, our time, in terms of doing other things that we're responsible to do. So I would just suggest, and it's come from the field, I hear it all the time when I go out with the troops, and I hear from the troops themselves that the industry asks that we have like an FAQ on our website. I mean, it just makes sense. The world is all internet driven now. As the generations go, it's almost, with very few exceptions, everybody is driven by the internet, uses the internet daily, if not hourly. So I think we should have a dedicated FAQ for the appearance enhancement discipline, and so as these decisions are made and we come up with a position, legal positions on these things, because we spend a lot of time on this, and we're not in the industry, we're enforcement people, and we're not expertise, and as I couldn't agree with you more, we hear things all the time, and it's embarrassing from our perspective to say, I don't even know what that is, I've never heard that before. And then we feel an obligation to do research, and so it's a burden on us. So I think the ideal solution, in my opinion, would be for us to refer folks to the website. Say, if we know that the answer is on the website, we don't even need to know it. They can look at it themselves, especially if we have legal opinions from SED, which very often is required on some of these things. I mean, we could actually put a link on the website to the FAQ that would go right back to that written determination by SED counsel or something. And the question is answered itself. It's like self-service. So the phone bank people could refer them right to the website.
SEDs is more DOH issues probably than SED.
But this could apply to anything.
But yeah, of course. Yeah.
The one thing that's a little bit tricky is a lot of these areas, it's not really black and white.
Put anything in writing.
Right, and that's where we get into defining further to what degree are you performing this, how are you doing this.
But the ones that we do, that we take, that collectively, the different agencies collectively agree, or if we defer completely to DOH or SED, the things that are black and white.
Right, there are some that are black and white, and in order for it not to get lost, maybe you want to have a separate procedural frequently asked question, right? Because otherwise, I think they'll just get lost with the rest of the FAQs.
I must get the laser hair removal question. I answer that question half a dozen times a week. And so there's a breakdown in communication. The solution really is the internet. That's the solution is the internet. it takes away the human, because it's right there. It's someone focused, make sure it's correct, and it's all in black and white. And I think there should be some discussion and consideration in going down that road in terms of getting it out there to the industry. So, right, getting out there to the public, the industry.
I like that. That's why I was hoping to at some point have this nice chart so it was easy to kind of, look up, oh, this is the procedure. Alphabetically, I could find what I wanted to do and then look over and see if my license covered it.
Or maybe if it doesn't prohibit it. I mean, sometimes the advantage of putting things in writing is you can acknowledge the gray areas.
Right, and I did
it's
do
not
that
prohibited,
too, right.
And then people make their own decisions. But what was the diatherapy or something?
Diathermy.
Diathermy. What was that?
It's electric current that's used to, this is going to sound really bad. It's electric current that's used to cauterize, in a sense. So skin tags, small lesions on the surface of the skin, that you literally take two different electrodes, put them together, and it burns it, pops it right off. Okay. Yep.
Sounds good.
Just like that.
Right, and then I guess the question comes in there, are we improving the appearance of the skin?
Yeah.
Or, yes, we are, but is it a medical procedure?
Right.
Or you just tie a string around it, like
That's
my
all
mom
you
used to
do. That's right.
Cut off the blood flow and you're done.
Is that something estheticians do? Non-medical?
Yep. Yep. Yeah, and it's just, John, you bring up such a great point, because the other thing along with the gray area is everyone's own definition of things. And when you have someone who's not really educated on knowing what they're doing, and they talk to a product manufacturer, and a product manufacturer says, well, here's what it is, and you think to yourself, well, that's not at all what it is. It's sort of like the microneedling and acupuncture. If you talk to an acupuncturist, they're going to say, what are you talking about? They're two totally different things altogether.
The problem with the manufacturers that I've experienced is that they sell to the world. They don't sell just to New York residents.
Absolutely.
So, the bureaucracy in the state of Minnesota will feel very differently about what we feel.
Right.
And so the manufacturer's frustrated because
Right.
they're just trying to sell their product.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And we have microneedling reps coming into the school all the time. And let's have a class, and let's sell a product, and let's do all of these things. And so I say to them, not knowing my involvement, I say, well, what about the regulations in New York State? Am I allowed to do this? Oh, absolutely you are. Like, you have no idea what you're talking about, do you?
Because they read everything and studied our statute,
Yeah.
our laws, and they know.
Yeah, but our licensed professionals, especially the new ones that are out there that don't know, they're going to these trade shows or they're making phone calls and they're buying all of these things, uneducated, untrained, no idea whether it's even in their scope of practice, and they're setting up shop, and here we go.
Well, I think that's the frightening thing on a enforcement perspective, because I'm listening to the list of things. I think that all of them would require professional training. So when we encounter unlicensed individuals who never had that training, and then they're out there, they get the job as an esthetician, and they don't have a license, and they didn't go to school. The public is running the risk of having someone who wasn't trained properly. And I think that if you're not trained properly, there's some serious issues that could develop from that. So that would be a concern for me, that we will have a lot of people out there engaging who didn't have the proper training.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right. Ideally, there'd be a way to, make a certification in all these areas so that, we knew who was trained. The way the law is currently written, there's not really any way, I don't believe, to have an advanced aesthetics license. It would require a statutory amendment.
But Anita, you're talking about people who aren't licensed
At
at all,
all.
right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
No,
Not even
I'm
as
saying
an
that for a
esthetician.
licensed individual,
Right,
you
sure.
would
I mean,
hope
we
that
respect
they
a
were
licensed
trained,
person who
had
has
the
the
training.
proper
Right.
training, but I'm talking about those we encounter that don't have a license,
Right.
and they're
Right.
engaging in the activity. That it become a little dangerous.
Because a lot of these are almost like advanced areas.
Right.
Well, then almost when you look at because we still have the COS umbrella license, so you have cosmetologists that don't have the skin training, but in reality in New York State, they can practice aesthetics. So they don't even have that background, so we kind of have multiple levels of how qualified are you to be doing these things. I wouldn't want to be in your shoes. And I'm glad you're there, thank you.
anyways, I want to thank the Trends Subcommittee for all their hard work, and this will be an ongoing subcommittee, I imagine. Our work will just continue with whatever areas that we need to look at with the different trends. And anyone have any questions?
Quiet.
Well, if you ever think of anything after the fact of the meeting, you can always email me, and I can make sure that I relay it at the meeting, next meeting we have.
Well, our next topic belongs to you too, Denise.
And this is a rough one.
The Nail Specialty Subcommittee.
The Nail Specialty Subcommittee. Oh, I thank everyone who served on that because we have worked very hard this year. We last met on August 15th. This subcommittee was formed to redevelop the nail specialty practical exam. We wanted to develop an exam that focused more heavily on safety and infection control and also address the odor. We wanted to go to an odorless acrylic product. The exams, the odor can become overwhelming to our examining staff, and that's part of the reason why we were looking at changing that area. Now, in June, we did redevelop the exam, and in June, we requested that State Ed notify the schools of the pending changes so that the schools could prepare their students for having to perform an odorless acrylic procedure rather than the traditional that had been required of them on our exam. We piloted the exam to 5 students on August 1st. That went pretty well and overall, so we made a few tweaks to the exam, and then we notified suppliers of industry-related products of the new requirement because there were some concerns that the examinees would have difficulty obtaining the odorless acrylics because they weren't really too popular, not only on our exam, but even out there in the industry, being that they're a little bit more difficult to work with as far as setting up. The procedures, I guess, the same, but it doesn't set up as easily, or cure as they call it. So we notified suppliers, and then we added a statement to our website to alert our licensed candidates that there would be a change that would be implemented as of January 1st. We provided examiner training workshops at 6 locations statewide during the months of October and November. We invited public and proprietary school instructors to join us for the training. We probably trained about 90 individuals, including the examiners and the instructors who participated in these trainings. Cheryl Winstill, she served as our subject matter expert. Thank you, Cheryl. It was great having you on hand. We're not technical experts here. Well, I'm not. I speak for myself. And then after all the workshops went by, we made final revisions to the exam, and they have been posted on our website. So you will find that information there. Right now, and only for the next couple weeks, you'll see the current exam and the one that will be implemented on January 1st. But after we administer our last December exam, that old information will come down. So if you want to go on there and look at any of those documents for comparison's sake, they're there. If you miss that window, you can always get them from me. But you'll have time to compare. There are copies in your folder of the new exam documents. We have not provided you with the rating form itself, but the task list is pretty much the rating form. It tells you every single thing, step by step, every behavior an examiner is looking to observe. And now we're currently in the process of re-notifying the schools, the examiners and the licensed candidates of our new exam requirements. They had the heads up, but we want to just kind of send out a reminder and let them know how everything kind of wrapped up. it did come up in some of the workshops that, some of our examiners were having difficulty due to language barriers at the exam sites. Kind of telling examinees maybe if they wanted them to put something away or not to do something. So we're trying to come up with some different tools maybe that they can have on hand and make available at the sites. That will make the process easier for everyone involved. I think the subcommittee's work is pretty much complete. The only thing that I would maybe ask is after the exam is implemented, that maybe we could meet one additional time to discuss, get the feedback, and after we have the feedback, we can provide you with that and let you know how things are working out. So if you want to go over the documents in the folder, I could briefly highlight some of the changes to the exam. But one good thing is it's a 2-hour exam now instead of 2.5 hours. I do know that off the top of my head. We've updated the examination information. We'll look at that sheet first. We've updated some of the information. We've changed it to look like our other exams as we've updated them over the years. You'll notice if you pull up this sheet right now on our current exam, the supplies are listed on the information sheet. You'll see a list of maybe 36 supplies, or however many there are, but you won't really know, like the examinee won't know what we intend each supply to be used for. So now, we have a separate supply list too in here that gives them more information. And it also assists them with being able to pack their exam if they use like a baggie method. A lot of times they get nervous when they're at exams. It's a lot easier to label the supplies by procedure and just pull them out and know what they need to use. So that's different on there. We've updated some of the language to say that, even smartwatches and things like that. We have added the blood exposure procedure. I believe we may have discussed that at the last advisory board meeting. And that it's always really been a part of the exam. It's just now if everyone has to demonstrate proficiency in this area. Before it was only if you were to name someone at the exam that you would have to go through the steps. What else have we changed, Cheryl? We have an odorless acrylic application.
Less tips.
Less tips, right?
I want acrylic nails.
We've also put a note in here that says that they can bring an interpreter, a model that can interpret for them, I should say. That's always kind of been our rule, but we haven't really made it, we haven't put writing to them. That's no longer a possibility in cosmetology, but it will be with the nail exam because they still bring a live model.
Interestingly, you mentioned before how cuticles was never prohibited, cutting cuticles. But I remember from those meetings, like no cuticles, right? Wasn't that the
no cuticle cutting at our exam?
Exactly, at the exam.
At the exam, right? I think that's where the misconception came from. We really didn't want them doing that at the exam,
right?
And then
so people thought you couldn't do it at all. I see.
Right.
With the French polish.
Yeah, that's right. We have a French polish to the nails that receive the advanced procedures, which would be free, and they'll still show us a red polish on one hand. Some of the time allotments for the different procedures have changed. pretty much, that's the new exam. And like I said, you can look through those sheets of paper. If you have any questions, feel free to contact me. Seems to be working well. A lot of people out in the industry have had the opportunity to provide their feedback, and we have used that to improve it all along. And
Let me ask it when you're done. Ask
yes.
a nail specialty type question.
Sure.
It's not related to the exam. Now, when you put out your requirements for proper ventilation a while ago, and we are requiring those of new schools which apply for nail technicians. And what we had done was send out a memo a while ago saying that by 2021, schools which currently were approved and offering nail programs should meet these ventilation requirements. So we had a question from a school, a pending school who wants to open. What if they only use odorless products? Do they still need the ventilation? Now, can you train with only odorless products?
It's my assumption, and I don't know, that it's hazardous, right? It's still, just because you don't smell it doesn't mean it's not there.
I see. Okay, so they still need that ventilation even if they're going to only use their
I think
odorless
there's
products.
also other reasons for that too, and that, like the debris from filing and things like that.
So, because they need to know that going into whether they're seeking
right.
approval to do that.
I mean, we encourage every exam, and not all of the exam sites have the new ventilation, and it's very difficult for examiners.
Sure.
In some of those settings where they can't open the window and they have several examinees. We do encourage them to, wear protective masks, to wear, protective goggles or anything that protects them there at the exam and out in the industry. Did anyone have any questions? Okay, I guess that's I could get into it further, but I don't think there's a lot of specialists.
Thank you for this information. Okay, next on our agenda then, moving on to any new business, any 2017 agenda items, or any upcoming 2018? New and exciting?
We have some, I'm not a member, so is this member? We have a new barbering program at Mid-State Correctional Facility, licensed barbering program, that just got approved. We had 3 cause programs, 2 in the downstate women's correctional facilities, and we just opened the first barbering at Mid-State. And Thomas Reimer went with some folks. I think your folks are going up. Department of State are going up next week.
And we're supposed to go to
Okay,
that.
okay. Oh, because of the weather. Anyway, Thomas was very impressed, and it really looks like, they've been doing it all along. They just haven't been able to take the licensing exam. So this will be great for those guys, and they were really excited. He said it was a beautiful space.
It's going to be in all the corrections.
Well, they want 9,
13.
I think.
I thought we were up to 12.
The barber program?
Yes,
barber, yeah.
in the men's correctional facilities. Because we have them, like Bruce just said, we have them in the women's.
You went to one of the women's.
I did. I went down to the. I thought it was really it was exciting, and
it's great.
It's good for them, because there's nothing worse than sitting in jail, and then you're learning a skill and you can't use that skill when you're released. I mean, so this will enable them to be able to sit for the exam and get to work.
So what was it that changed that they can now sit from the exam?
They're now a licensed program under us.
Yeah.
They're licensed school.
Yeah.
They're licensed school now.
Now
Or they will be. They're just
proprietary.
finalizing their licensure. But for those of you who know Thomas Reimer from BPSS, when I started in this job 5 years ago and I was Thomas's supervisor, he said, I have one thing I want to do before I retire, which is going to be next October.
Oh,
He said, I want to get these licensed cosmetology and barbering programs in the prisons.
Yeah.
So that was his one goal, and so
He's
now
going to accomplish it.
Yep,
That's
that's been
super
happening,
great.
so it is great.
That's great. Good for you guys and good for Thomas.
Yeah, yep.
That's awesome.
He's really pushed this, so.
Where are the Cosmo programs? And I said before I retire, I want to get all the practical exams, you know, all lined with each other and
You're gonna be here a long time.
So, no, I'm getting there. So with new business, and that being said, maybe in the near future, you know, we can move to aesthetics practical at some point too. The only ones that I haven't revisited at this point are aesthetics and natural hair.
Practical exams.
Practical exams. And then, of course, by the time you finish all that, you know, it's been years since you touched the first one, so. But it's in good shape for someone to go back now and revise it than what I started with. A rating form, the 0 through 10, the check-off list, you know?
Right. Can I just, I'm a bit confused on the natural hair. Okay, so right now, there's not, like, they can't take a 300-hour course for natural hair, because that came up somewhere in the office.
There is a 300-hour course.
It is a 300-hour, okay, just want to make sure that I
There's
didn't
just not
overhear
very many
anything.
available.
Okay, all right.
Programs.
That's
It's
what I
really
was gonna
been
say.
pretty inactive for the most part, yeah.
Oh, really? Because we've had several phone calls about it.
I think they want to do the natural hair without the cons.
You do the natural hair without the cons? Yes.
Separate license.
Yes, it's a separate license, but
Right.
what that curriculum has in it is a lot of braiding. It's not like, it's not
Updos, not like a lot of
natural
updos.
hair, right.
Right.
It's not like hair styling.
Oh, that's what
The
people want.
natural hair, right, they want hair
Braiding and
styling.
braiding and stuff like that.
It's just absent any chemicals, isn't that the bottom line?
Right.
I think there's lack of schools that are teaching that. That's what the issue is with
Yes.
people calling our office.
Absolutely.
Okay.
They
I'm losing my mind.
Forward a little bit, right.
I'm close to losing my mind, but I'm not there yet.
Say in a salon, would someone, say someone was doing like all those blowouts, would they employ someone who only had that license or not?
You have to have a cosmetology license if you're touching anyone in the appearance enhancement business.
So you
do?
can't
So
hire
what's
that
this
person.
thing for? What's this
Natural hair
300-hour
style
program?
license, but that
It's
would not
always
be
been
for
in existence, the
hairstyle.
braiding license. It was pretty much, I'll call it that for lack of a better term of.
But you
it's
can't
a
use that to
braiding.
work in a salon?
You can use it to work in an appearance enhancement business, but you would be limited to perform the procedures that they do, which is mainly, you could do updos, but you know, you could do anything that didn't involve cutting or chemicals.
Now, if we saw someone blowing hair and they had a natural, that would be sufficient.
Yeah.
There's very few natural. I mean, it surprises me the numbers. It's like a couple of hundred,
Yeah.
the whole state.
Right. Yeah, if we get a few people a year that come through to take an exam, then, you know, that's probably it.
Well, that kind of all cycles back through makeup artists that are out there working, doing makeup and doing hair, and just calling themselves a makeup artist with no license. Realistically, they need 2 licenses, or a cos license,
They need a cos, right, or an aesthetics.
or aesthetics and natural hairstyling,
They're doing hair too.
if they're doing hair
Yeah.
too.
In the last couple of years, you know, we started going out doing enforcement initiatives on the weekends just because it's something we hadn't done for years. And of course, they were very shocked to see us. And I mean Saturday and Sunday we did. And we came across a couple of wedding party things. And yeah, if they were applying makeup, if they were applying in the wedding party, if they were applying makeup, it would be cos or esthetician, one of the two. And they said, no, we're just makeup artists. It's all
We do find a
semantics.
lot of unlicensed activity in natural hair braiding. You go into salons where they're doing the natural hair braiding, and they, many of them are unlicensed.
Okay, so yeah.
So, I'm sorry, the wedding party. Was that a violation that you guys cited them for?
Well, you know, just like, you know, like a cop has to observe you speeding, when we walk in the door, we have to observe them actually touch hands on a customer or client. So if we observe someone applying makeup, we would ask for their license, and what would get them through without the owner being cited with unlicensed activity is either cosmetologists or esthetician. But more often than not, they have none, with the argument that they're a makeup artist. And they don't even work there. They very often, a lot of these shops bring them in for that event. And they have all the, you know, of course, the wedding party is not pleased with the state being there. And but so it's kind of an unpleasant experience. But yeah, yeah. Applying makeup is an esthetician or cos, one of the two.
How does that work in the department stores? You know, like you have all the makeup counters. You have Clinique, you have Essie, you have MAC. I mean, I don't think that all those girls are.
They're not.
There's
So-
no fear.
Well, it's the demonstration aspect of the business. They're selling the product. They're not being paid for the service. They're selling the product.
But they're not.
Not charging for the
Okay,
service.
so they're all right.
It also applies in the entertainment business, and you know, in the city with Broadway, even news stations. You know, every station has.
Right. It's
the
just
people can put makeup on them on the.
It's odd though because okay, so you're working for MAC, and then there's the big things down in New York City, and you know that all the big, you know, they have all their shows, and they go down there and they get certified. And then they come back and they're working in Macy's and they're like, but I'm certified and I can do this and that. And I'm like, really? You know, based on where I work, I'm always questioning that. I'm like, I wonder how that really works.
It turns on the money. You know,
Yeah.
if the customer is paying for the service,
Right.
then the license kicks in.
And now a lot of those girls that work on those counters also hand you their little business card, you know, and say, hey, if you're ever, you know, going somewhere special, you want me to come to your, I'll come to your house. So, I mean, and I don't know if it's lack of not knowing that they should be licensed or they just, you know, like you said, you walked in and they're doing makeup and nobody thinks twice about it.
Right, but when they give their card and they're promoting their services, they're going to charge them a fee for
Yeah.
doing it.
Right, that's
Right.
There's a large makeup retailer that I went into in the city when we were doing one of our sweeps, just helping out our troops, and they sell the product. That's their primary business, is selling product. But they have signs posted that say we will apply the, you know, we will do our, when they put some fancy name on it, for $45, and they have a chair in the back, and these salespeople. And it was explained to me that they go to a lot of schooling. They went somewhere out of state, and they put them in a hotel for 2 or 3 weeks, and internally the business trains them to the use of their products, techniques, and whatever. But in the back, they had a chair, and it was specifically designed. I mean, the business transaction was service. It was, they were applying the makeup, in addition to, I'm sure most customers buy it, and then these experts who are certified. Again, what does that mean? But they argued up and down that, you know, they were just shocked that, you know, that I was taking the position they needed a state license.
Right.
And in fact, I think it was it was owned by one of the major cosmetic manufacturers, the store, I can't think of which one it was. But their lawyers got involved, and I don't know what the heck happened, but it's the service. It's the customer laying out money for the service.
Right, because usually you have to buy X number of products, and then they do it for free.
Well, that
That's
was what
usually
she
what-
said one day to me, and that's an exchange, right?
That would be compensation, wouldn't it be a
Right,
form of
that's
compensation?
exchange. Because she said to me one day, I have time to work on you, but only if you have, you know, you have to spend $50.
Right, that's the
right,
standard,
at least
that's what
$50
they
worth. I said, are you a licensed esthetician? She said, no. I said, I don't really think you're supposed to be charging for it. That's for anything that
Well, I mean,
is a
the-
fee or exchange.
The receipt's going to show that you bought X amount of thing, and so whatever, if you pay $50, you pay 20 for this, 30 for that.
Right.
So it's not, and they have it broken down on the receipt, so it doesn't say that you paid for the actual application of it.
Right.
It only says you paid for the product.
But they're not doing anything for free, so
Right.
the compensation is built into the price of the product. Now, to me, if they marketed it that way, I mean, that would be a legal argument to be had.
Depends if you're a customer or an investigator, I guess. How you see it.
But I'm sure if you don't meet that threshold, you could still have it done if you're willing to pay. You know, if you don't meet that
Not
threshold.
where I went. You have to buy the 4 products. You can buy
That
the
was your
4
only
cheapest
option.
products. You have to buy 4 products.
See, that's an exchange though, isn't it?
Whatever. Anyway.
It's probably buy this product and you get a complimentary whatever.
And some of them
You
do
know?
have a
Yeah.
license. I thought at one point there was licensed estheticians that they did work for
Right.
the county, like there was supposed to be someone within the industry.
And I think the big chain businesses, stores, they have licensed cosmetics. They'll advertise that they have licensed cosmetics doing their makeup artists. So some businesses do have licensed individuals.
And the reality is the exposure to, you know, germs and unsanitary stuff is still there. The Today Show had something a couple weeks ago about that. About they went and they tested the products that people are, you know, women go in and they.
Oh, like
they-
Sephora and that is, ooh.
Yeah, and it was
So
pretty
gross.
bad.
Testing products?
Yeah, in other words, they found MRSA and everything like
I
that.
believe
Women go in and they put a lipstick on, look in the mirror, and they put it down, and then somebody else follows. Is that how that works?
Sephora,
They're usually
Sephora's
sealed
known
now.
for that.
Yeah, they're not supposed to with that, right?
Right, but I mean, not for nothing, you go in and like they have each provider, they have their own little kit on their thing, and they're using that on everybody that comes in. They're not setting the brushes, and they have all of the brushes. And my thought is like, oh, they use that on 10,000 people.
I always
you
ask,
know?
is that clean?
Right. But they take pride in that. It's
Better
their
get
personal
another
kit.
brush.
It's their
Right.
personal kit that they're using on every customer that walks in the store.
They have certain sprays now that dry instantly and they can clean them very quickly.
May I step in?
Sure.
Just one question regarding this subject. You were saying that there were people putting makeup on for free in a wedding party. What if the individual owner of that salon said that the makeup is being performed for free, however we are charging them for the hairstyles we are doing? Or on the same page there, if a salon advertises that all of their shampoos are free, does the shampoo assistant have to be licensed? Since there is no exchange of money for the shampoo, I'm only charging for the haircut and style.
Well, I mean, our people are trained that if services are being provided in a licensed shop that clearly is open for business, and we determine that by means of a price list, a cash register, credit card machine, that argument that they're being done for free, we kind of say, well, tell it to the judge. I mean, it's from our perspective, it's being provided in a licensed business. There's evidence that there's an exchange of money by means of those items, and we would cite them. They could say that, we would cite them, and if they want to make that legal argument post the ticket being issued, so be it. I mean, you get a speeding ticket, and you can argue all kinds of different things. Cops are going to just say, hey, you were speeding. Whatever your excuse is, tell it to the judge type of thing.
So is it a fine when you find people out of compliance?
Oh yeah, it's similar to like a traffic. The owner gets a ticket for licensed practice, and they go through a similar legal process that you would if you got a citation for any sort of vehicle
Is
traffic.
there an average fine or not really?
Well, by statute, it's maxes out at $500 per violation.
Per violation.
That's statutory. But it compounds if they are cited with other things.
Are they also then given a time period that individual, if they're still there, has to get a license?
They have to
Or
get a
not?
license immediately. Once you identify them as a worker without a license, then you're ordered to cease and desist, or you're told to cease and desist, and you can't perform without a license. So.
Can I just add something from the school aspect as an educator? We teach these students over and over every day that they are not licensed yet. Of course, we have to remind them that, and it's a school setting. What is hard for us to control is when these students do go out to even our beauty supply stores. We are to a point where I had to call all the local stores because they are selling these students color. They haven't even learned color yet, and they're at home putting color on their family members and friends. Then they come in for corrections, color corrections. So yes, sure they're learning, but from that, so it's very hard. We keep telling them you don't have your license yet. Even like some of our students that graduate and don't get their license yet. I heard a lot of you talking about these makeup counters and weddings. I think that's what's going to fall down on whoever's hiring them to do these bridal parties. They're not asking if they're licensed. I think they're just, oh great, you do makeup, how much? So a lot are doing it illegally. I shouldn't say a lot, I don't know how many, but that's where our struggle is, as teaching them to get their education, go get their license, and then work in the industry and make money and have a huge success. But that's our biggest struggle. Even our nail techs are doing nails at home at their kitchen table. And the sanitation, how we're also telling them, we teach them every day also, they're graded on sanitation every day. So it's, again, from a school aspect, that is our biggest struggle. We have so many that finish the program but don't go out and get their license. For whatever reason, we don't know why, but so that's just, I just wanted to input on that. But I think a lot of it would stop after I called the local distributor stores. They're like, nope, your teacher needs to send in a letter or a transcript of if they already did color, then they could perform it, which they still really shouldn't be. They're not licensed. So just a few, when they're charging, these kids are getting money. Like, people are paying them to do their hair, and they're still in school. So it's a it's a challenge. I think it's always going to be a little bit of a problem, but it's out of our control when when they're not in our academy. But I just wanted to put that out there. Thank you.
Well, we see quite a bit where the argument is, well, I'm going to school, I graduate on Sunday, whatever, and we just have a saying, you either is or you isn't, and there's no in between. So you either are licensed or you aren't. Obviously the proper English, but there's going to school, being licensed in other jurisdictions, practicing at a scope, having a nail and doing hair, and it's just black and white. You either have it or you don't have it, and there's nothing that's acceptable prior to it being issued and in your name.
Mm-hmm. But there is, the successes of the ones who are and that are doing great, is also very rewarding and great to see. So
I had out in Buffalo, actually, it was a woman who had a shop in a hotel. It was a very high-end shop. I could just tell by it just clearly was very high-end. It was a very kind of highfalutin hotel, and her background was in the entertainment business, and she had pictures of all kinds of stars on the wall. She worked for movie studios and this, that, and the other thing. And she didn't have a license. She was the owner and was highly embarrassed. So she was the owner, and she got a ticket for her own unlicensed practice. But it's like 6 months later, she had sent she had my cell phone number, because she was very apologetic and clearly was embarrassed by the whole thing. And she just was asking me questions. At some point, I gave her my cell phone number. And she had sent me a text about 6 months later showing that she was enrolled in cosmetology school somewhere in Buffalo, and just basically saying, well, thank you for the eye-opener, and the embarrassment of the whole thing has now made me make time in my schedule to attend school. And she was like halfway through, and at first I looked at it, I didn't even know who it was, but she sent me like a picture of her holding. So it wasn't her graduation, it was like she had completed some component of the schooling or something like that. So I just thought that was interesting, and it's, so here's someone who kind of was a fraud, really. That's what she called herself. I think she used that term, and she was embarrassed by it. But she,
She couldn't operate until she finished her schooling, correct?
No, that's what I told her. I said, you can own the business. You can own the business and technically supervise all your employees, even though you're not legit. And but it was kind of interesting that getting the ticket and the embarrassment of it, because it happened in front of her staff, and they were just like, what? She doesn't have a license. And so it was a silver lining to an unpleasant experience, I guess.
Okay, moving along on our agenda then, we have 3 dates set for 2018, March 27th, June 26th, and October 23rd. Mark your calendars. For any of the locations, we've got a public comment period. Is there anybody that has anything Cheryl?
A couple things. I was last year, the year before, the committee discussed allowing students to take the licensing exam once they completed 80% of the hours, one of the licensing exams, to get it. I don't know if it would issue a temporary license or not, but the idea was that they would take the written while they're still in school, and then if they fail it, they're still in school, so the teachers can help support them and help them through passing the written exam on the portions that they didn't do well on. And that kind of like dead-ended, so I don't know if there's any possibility for discussing that, throughout the next year. And the shampoo assistant proposal that I had proposed, I know it's going to take statutory changes, but as I did the research and continue to research, more and more states are doing this. They're allowing either students, a lot of states are just taking shampoo out from under the COS license, taking the word out so that it doesn't even require a license to shampoo. And I always bring it back to the medical profession. Nurses, home health aides, CNAs all practice on patients under the professional license before they're licensed. And last time I checked, nobody died from a shampoo. whereas these people are taking vitals on, patients. So I just think that we could, should revisit this again. It's kind of one of my goals before I retire in 2 years. So I only have 2 years. But because we know that activity's happening out there. These kids are in school, they get a job at a salon, and they're having them shampoo mostly on the weekends or evenings when you guys aren't out. Thank God you're out now, on weekends. But it's happening. It's been happening since I was licensed. So is there a way to make it legal instead of having salons do it, on the sly type of thing? So, just 2 suggestions.
So I recall both those topics we've talked about, and then we stopped.
Right.
So.
Right.
Anybody else? Anyone in Buffalo or Anthony?
Nope.
Okay. Can I still make a motion to adjourn if there's not a quorum?
I think so.
I'll move it. No motion required.
Very much. And the meeting is adjourned.
Yep. Happy Hanukkah, Merry Christmas.
It's hard to get a quorum when you have so many vacancies.
I know.
Thank
no,
you.
I saw that. Yeah.
Thank
Like, I actually did see an email go out.
Thank you.
Get what?
Makes sense.
I would. Why are you doing one?
No, I didn't know you liked it. Are you too?
Yep.
Thank you.
Yes, we donate.
Happy holidays.
Happy holidays.
Oh, happy holidays. Okay. I'll bring them.
Holidays.
No. He knows. He knows.
So can you ever get a quorum?
Is it of the
Yeah.
total number? Or everybody?
It almost
We
seems
actually had one. We started the year strong.
I think they have to have
we
five.
had one. We had 3 out of 5.
Yeah.
So it has to be a quorum of the appointment.